Blah, 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 blah. Yes, thank you as always to the great Stone Loki of Loki's Mornings of Mischief for that wonderful intro he made for me. I really appreciate it, brother. Very nice of you. And of course, his link and many others to his wonderful channel and many other new friends I made here on YouTube are in the description below. Please check all those channels out of some great fellow YouTubers. And well, I want to thank everyone who is here already, who's already popped in. The great Mark C. All right, man, my sometimes partner in crime on Saturday and other nights, and pretty soon we will be doing a show about bad movies because he is an authority on that. We'll be doing that pretty soon, I hope. We'll have to get together exactly when we're going to do that, Mark. Smart Steve is here. Well, Smart Steve 68 to get his name right. James Caserta. Thank you for popping in. And hopefully there will be other friends popping in later. With me tonight is Minimus Prime. You know him, you love him, but you still can live without him.
Yeah.
And well, most of them love him anyway.
Most of them live without me.
Yeah, that's true too. Mark C loves him though. I know that much. That is, of course, Steve. You know who he is.
Yeah.
No, we're going to be going in order, Mark. Sorry to disappoint you there, brother. We'll go fast if that makes you happy, because what we're going to do basically tonight is we're going to talk about, well, I think y'all all know y'all like Star Trek, don't you? Y'all watch that old show.
Yeah, Star Trek with that Dr. Spock fella.
Dr. Spock. Yeah. So, we're going to basically kind of just sort of, you can't really go all that in depth with something like this with a live stream. If you do, you know, you have to do it on a video with a series of videos. If you're going to go hardcore into the history of it, and there are plenty of people who have done that with Star Trek comics, because Star Trek comics have been around almost as long as Star Trek has been around. So, which means quite a bit. They started in, they started in 1967 when the show was still on the air. Western Publishing, also known as under the Gold Key imprint, started putting them out in 1967 when the first season or second season was the first season at that point. The second season was just getting started, but they only did like 61 issues or something like that. But it's still, they had the imprint, or they had the license, Western and Gold Key, and sometimes under Whitman, from 67 to 1979 until the motion picture came out. But there have also been other types of things. There's been UK strips and UK mags. There have been, British annuals. There have been, of course, Power Records, Peter Pan Records, those things like that. There have been Viewmasters. There's been all kinds of stuff. So it's not just in comic book form. But so it's impossible to go super in depth on it. We're just going to kind of do it in a timeline type fashion and maybe comment a little bit on them and show some pictures and things like that. Just giving you a brief idea of all the different iterations, all the different times that the license has changed hands, and which it did several times. And up till about, we'll get close to the modern day. For those who do not know, and we'll maybe recommend a few things here. For those who do not know, Zathras, all right, Zathras is here. Babylon, I knew he was going to do this. There he is. That's my boy Zathras. Babylon 5 is better. Well, I like Babylon 5. You won't get me to bash Babylon 5, brother, but Star Trek is Star Trek. Profound, isn't it? Star Trek is Star Trek. Well, that means a whole lot now, because Star Trek, of course, existed from 1966 to 2005. On this show, that's all we recognize. Other things called Star Trek can suck it. And they probably do suck it. They suck, right? So they suck it. God damn it, I'm having some tech. Yeah, here we go. So, before we get started, we will let Minimus Prime just sort of tell us a little bit about how his first Star Trek comics and how he got started buying Star Trek comics. Go ahead.
Okay. Gold Key was the comic company for me when I was a little kid. They printed a comic book called Space Family Robinson, after a few issues, they called it Lost in Space. They kept the Space Family Robinson very small. Now, that was the TV show comic book tie-in at the time. But the comic book came first. And, what's his name? Irwin Allen saw it and basically said, there's an idea I can steal. So he did. And that was Gold Key's. It wasn't their first science fiction comic, but it was their first science fiction TV comic. Well, when Gene Roddenberry was shopping Star Trek around, he went to CBS, who passed on it. But for some reason now they love it. They passed on it, and they were very flippant about it. They said, no, we don't need it. We already have Lost in Space. Now, Lost in Space, I liked it. Well, I liked it when I was a kid. It had some good stories, but it didn't have the staying power of Star Trek. There was a movie back in, I don't know what it was, like 2000, 2001, somewhere up in there. It was bad. It was terrible.
Oh, yeah.
And there were two TV series that had almost nothing to do with the original story. Actually, virtually nothing to do with the original story. So you had two little TV series. I think it was 10 episodes each, a movie, and 3 seasons. Star Trek, 3 seasons, 10 movies. You can say 10 or whatever, however many number it is. But when they passed on it, NBC got it. It took a while for somebody to say, let's do this as a comic book. And the art in the original ones wasn't that great. Nice covers, though. Really good photo covers. And they stood out on the newsstand. So if you're a Star Trek fan back then, you had to get them. Unfortunately, I didn't get mine until later. And I got to tell you, I did love them because it was the only Star Trek thing in comic books at the time. Of course, we had the novels. I mean, we had the James Blish adaptations, which were like, some of them were like 7 pages long. Some of them were 15 pages long. They were directly from the episodes. This Star Trek comic book was brand new stories. And again, it was sort of like somebody had not seen the show.
By the way, the first Star Trek book was this, and it's not really a comic book, but it was an illustrated book.
Yeah.
Mission to Horatius. But go ahead.
I got 3 copies of that, believe it or not. And it was, they did release it in an anniversary edition, I think of the Star Trek, not of the book. But when Gold Key put stuff out, I just looked at everything. I loved Space Family Robinson. I loved Turok, Son of Stone. I was getting all the Tarzan comics, and when I saw that they had a Star Trek comic, I just lost my damn mind. So that explains something. I lost my damn mind, and the place where I got comics didn't always get the same thing every month. They skipped a few. I never got number 1. Never got a whole bunch of them. But then Gold Key did something really weird. They started reprinting, and they started reprinting in trade paperbacks that were very cheap for the time. I think they're considered collector's items now. But eventually, they did 3 of those, and they did them right. They did them on comic book paper, just on regular old newsprint. When they reprinted them later, when they put all the issues in what was called the Star Trek logs, later I think they called it the Key Collection or the Gold Key Collection.
Yeah.
There was really slick paper, bright colors, and it didn't look right, but I had to have them. I had to get them all. So we got all of those. And for me, Gold Key was actually my introduction to continuing stories of Star Trek, because I don't know, I don't guess you were old enough to understand it back then, but our local NBC channel didn't get Star Trek the first year. We had to.
Yeah, that's right. We had two NBC affiliates. Remember?
Yeah, we had both kinds. We had CBS and NBC, and the NBC. Fortunately for us, though, the NBC affiliate showed Batman 66.
That's right.
And some Guns of Will Sonnet and other ABC shows. But they could switch away and show these ABC shows instead of the NBC shows. And well, now that's impossible. You have to show what the network broadcast programs and broadcast. But at the time, no Star Trek. I was at a friend's house one night, and they had a really tall antenna, and they were watching Channel 5 out of Alexandria, Louisiana. I said, "What is this?" And the guy says, "Star Trek." I said, "No, well, I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is." And it was Arena. And I said, "Well, we have a long antenna." I ran to my house as soon as the commercial came on. I started watching. That was my first TV experience with Star Trek. So when the comics came out, that was just like, that was crack for me. I had to get it. And never mind that it didn't come out on a regular basis in my small town. I had to get it. It wasn't until many years later that I got collections of it. And then we got it on disc. You got some on disc. I've got some on disc, but mine's just the movies. But it's been everywhere. It's just that Gold Key was the initial place, and like I said, people had obviously never seen the show. Didn't really know anything beyond Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. And Janice Rand was in the first issue. And I think they had trouble drawing her hair because her hair in the book looked like a basket on her head. And a lot of the interiors had nothing to do with real Star Trek.
Right. And as you see, everyone, Meadows was talking about some of the other books by Gold Key. Gold Key was one of the only companies in the 4-color format that did these kind of these painted covers and stuff. Even though the original issues were photo covers. You had comics like, as you can see, Mars Patrol, Dr. Solar, Man of the Atom,
Magnus,
and then Magnus. And so, and of course, he was
Turok.
Space Baby Robinson. There was Turok. I didn't put that up there. Yes, but yeah, but the comic itself, in the interior, if any of you ever seen any of those Gold Key books, yeah, as you can see, it didn't really look. I mean, it was by many different artists. None of the big name artists that went on that worked for Marvel or DC, really, at least on the Trek comic for the most part. So yeah, the characters really didn't look like that. It was the people who did not see or had not seen the show much. I always like this for some reason.
Look at how big those chairs are inside the Enterprise. I
guess
that's engineering. The Enterprise back then could hold like 30 people.
Yeah. Hey, wait, Dale. What was it? Excuse me. This Doug Oberg. Thanks for being my friend. The wonderful, the beautiful, the fantastic Raquel Briggs. It is so wonderful to see you here. Thank you for popping in. I do appreciate it. By the way, you got a blizzard up there. Oh my goodness. Well, keep warm there. Monday night, the lovely Raquel and I will be joining forces again, as we have a couple of times, talking Trek, and it will be in this time. Look, some of us do love the show Enterprise, the show that gets treated like the redheaded stepchild of Star Trek. Unfortunately, I'll defend it to the death. I love it, and so does Raquel. We've talked about it a couple of times. It deserves defending because it's still to this day, even with all the horrible crap calling itself Star Trek that it is not, it still gets picked on too much. And we're doing the show in defense of Enterprise, and we're going to do just that. And I cannot wait. Monday night, you are the best. Thank you. I cannot wait to see you, Lord Todd, my buddy. All right, man, a new friend who I've hung out with recently on Noel's stream. And Noel and Lee over at Problem Being. So good to see you. Thank you for popping in. Good to see you all. And I really appreciate seeing you. And we're just starting. We're just kind of on the Gold Key stuff right now. So yes, these comics. This was a time, of course, when Star Trek was for everyone. Remember, that word inclusive that gets bandied about that is so not inclusive anymore with these new iterations? It was for everyone, and including a time when they were smart enough to market, to do something for kids. Because, yes, comic books, I'm sorry, they were for kids back then. I mean, I love them, but especially their comics, the same way that they can do a Saturday morning cartoon for Star Trek, the Great Filmation Show. They did comics when they started this in '67, and so if you read any of these, they're a lot of fun. They don't read, they're not this level of sophistication and story-wise as the show. But if you're a Trek fan, and now you understand that. If you go back and look at them, they're kind of fun, and they didn't know the art wasn't always the best. Even in some of the later, Marvel and DC didn't always put their best artists on it either. So it's not like this was just Gold Key. That, right?
It was a licensed property, so most of the money went to the owner of the licensed property. So wages were cut. They tried to get decent. I think Peter David wrote some of the better ones.
Yeah, we're gonna get to those.
DC.
Yeah,
but as a licensed product, you didn't want to go work on it because you knew they were going to cut corners, and the first corner they were going to cut is going to be the artist.
Leviathan, a new friend popping in. Thank you for being here. Great to see you. Smart Steve. Yep, we'll see. Yeah. Strangely enough, for those who don't know, because a lot of people who've been around do know about the Gold Key books that Minimus and I are talking about. And again, Gold Key had the license in the States from 67 to 79, even though they only made about 60 something issues, 60 whatever it was, because they did a lot of reprints over and over again. They recycled a lot of it, and they and then later I think they did a lot of it they were over and over again. They would reprint things under the Whitman banner.
Yeah, but
it was Western. But what a lot of people don't know is that in 1969, about 6 months before the series, the TV series made its debut across the pond over in the UK, a comic backup strip in Jerry Anderson's Joe 90. Joe 90 was a Jerry Anderson series. Jerry Anderson, you all know, who created Thunderbird, Space 1999, UFO, and a lot of other shows. Very famous, a very popular TV creator over there in the UK. Had a magazine.
The British Irwin Allen.
Yeah, there you go. That could be, yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Good one. And he did a magazine called Joe 90 for a while there. And Star Trek was about, and again, this is before any other had ever seen the series, which is strange and pretty cool because it became the most popular strip in that book. It was a strip amongst a lot of other strips in this mag here, and later they changed it to TV 21 Joe 90. Of course, you should see, and these are some interesting covers here.
They still have fire coming out of the
they got fire
coming out of the back of the nacelle.
Right, they got fire come out of the rocket blast. I always love those old covers that do that. They did it so many times. Oh, well, Leviathan, please look. Hell, absolutely. Please, anything you got to add? Look, because we're just kind of being very basic here. Because if we stop to do all kind of details to it, plus remember, I'll tell you up front. I didn't read every issue of all the things we're going to be talking about tonight. Now I do have, and I think it was you that gave it this. I'm not sure. There was a CD that was made a number of years ago with a lot of different types of comics on it, including all of the Star Trek comics from. Now I don't know if it had the UK stuff, but it had all Star Trek comics, and I think even strips from the beginning up until about past the Wildstorm era, which was sometime into the early 2000s. You have that, right?
I've got the movie disc, the one that has all the movie adaptations.
Wes, a friend of ours, gave me a copy of all of it. So if you want it, you can take a copy of mine. That's right. I remember you did say that. Sorry. But yes, it's got them all on there. And let's see.
I even had the Power Records. I have no idea why I let stuff like that go. I mean, when I was a kid, I hung on to all of my comics.
We're going to talk about that.
For some reason, they went away. A lot of my old Star Trek stuff is gone forever. But fortunately, it's all. I think all of it has been reprinted.
Yeah. Well, like I say, this disc has them all. And I forgot.
Yeah, check out how low the Enterprise is flying on that planet. It's about to take that guy's head off.
I'm sure some of you are familiar with the old British annuals. That's one of those British annuals, I believe in. This comics and different illustrated stories and that. So it's not really exactly a comic book. But anyway, again, in that Joe 90 book, some of these strips, as you can see, in some of the early ones before that, again, they had not seen Star Trek. They had a guy named Captain Kirk, whoever he is. And they said Spock, as you can see, was a bit on the histrionic side because, again, no one had seen the show. He was yelling at stuff.
Spock, why are you so histrionic?
And the thing is, though, the good news is IDW has been doing these volumes. I have a couple of them. I think I'm missing one of them. With all the classic UK strips in them. It's great. I really love these books. I think I'm missing one of them, but I got most of them. I got the ones with the American comic strips and the UK ones. I need one or more of those to get. But they're really weird. I mean, they're fun stuff. They've got. I was reading some of it not too long ago, and they have one where they go to this planet where Star Trek really is a TV show. Like this is, I mean, some crazy weird stuff there. Let us wild weird stuff.
That may have been a stolen idea from what was it? Those Star Trek New Voyages. There was one where people got into the transporter.
Yeah, the books.
And they beamed somewhere, and when they got there, they're looking around, and they're on a TV set.
Yeah, This might have come first, though, but you told me about that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love those covers. I don't know if that's Frank Bellamy or not. I'm not sure if he worked for that mag, Mark, but he was a great artist. But I'm not sure about that. And as Minimus mentioned earlier, Power Records did a comic strip. A comic book and record, because I love these. A few of them, actually. They also have them in album form, too.
Mm-hmm.
And this is fun. And if you may notice, something's wrong. Yeah. What's wrong with this picture? This looks like more like barely skeletal Neil Adams layouts with Dick Giordano inking to me. Because you can't...
The crusty bunkers, probably
the crusty bunkers. Because you can't find any info telling you, really. Even Memory Alpha doesn't have it. But as you can see, Lieutenant Uhura, this is not a coloring mistake. For some reason, she is a white lady, probably the lady the blonde lady that sat in for her in the Doomsday Machine. Yes, I'm forgetting her name at the moment, but there was, if you'll remember that. And then later in another episode, I believe, was it Turnabout Intruder? But anyway, and then Sulu is not just wearing the wrong color shirt. Let's put it like that.
And he's sitting next to Flash Gordon.
Yeah, he's sitting next to Flash. And this is 1975 or 6 or whatever.
Yeah. No excuse.
Alan Dean Foster and Carrie Bates. Alan Dean Foster wrote the Star Trek logs, the adaptations and novelizations of the animated series, and many other things. So you'd think they'd seen the show before, but I know he wasn't an editor. Maybe Neil Adams and Dick Giordano hadn't seen the show. I don't know. I can't. Oh my God. Anyway, what can you do? But it was nothing, no evil intent, I'm sure. It was just kind of weird. Later in these comic book records, remember when they changed they became Peter Pan, or they were called Peter Pan anyway, right?
Lieutenant Palmer from Doomsday Machine. And
Palmer, okay.
Honestly, she doesn't look a whole lot like her. Lieutenant Palmer had kind of a severe look on her face during Doomsday Machine, which is understandable. But why wasn't Uhura in that episode? Is that around the time when she was thinking about quitting?
Yeah, I don't know, but you could say that about a lot of episodes when just all of a sudden, it didn't have the stand. It didn't, Sulu wouldn't be there.
Yeah, George Takei was
on the Green Beret.
Yeah,
Green Berets, and
it went longer. He went to Green Berets because it was a movie, and it was a movie with John Wayne. Then he knew everybody was going to go see, and then they got bogged down, and it took longer, and Chekhov got a bigger role, and he even admitted that he hated Walter Koenig at the start of that, but it wasn't Walter Koenig's fault. I mean, blame whoever the did John Wayne direct Green Berets? Whoever the director of Green Berets was.
I don't think he directed it.
Dragged it out. He directed the Alamo, but they dragged it out. It was filmed in Columbus, Georgia. He was talking, when we were there, he was talking about how hot and miserable he was while he was shooting there, and it made them write him out of several Star Trek episodes.
Yeah. Due to a contract, you can only be in so many episodes. Good, thanks, Tough. Appreciate that, man. So anyway, this I don't know if any of you've ever seen any of these ones when they really came back after the motion picture and started doing these booking records. Yeah, the less said the better, because I saw some of the things I could find said it was Russ Heath. It did not look like Russ Heath art to me because it was really bad in some of these. But again, they don't give you a lot of art credit for these things. But anyway, we thought we'd show it. But then there's Marvel picks up the license for their first of 2 times. And I've always loved this Bob Larkin cover. I remember I bought this and I wore this sucker out. Bob Wolfman, Dave Cockrum, Klaus Janson. And I could not wait to see the movie. And I'm one of those who loves the motion picture. Sue me. And Eric K., the great Masters. And it is great to see you, my friend. I thank you for always popping in. Let's see. So, did you buy this?
I bought it when it came out, and it's another one of those things that I lost over the years. Unfortunately, it was just reprinted last year.
Yeah, this was just reprinted as a replica last year. Yeah. That's right. It's pretty cool. Because I mean, at the time I wore mine.
It was $1.50, wasn't it? $7.99 when they reprinted it. Sounds about right. Yeah.
And then, of course, they did their regular. They did 18 issues of their regular monthly, adapting. The first 3 issues were just a reprint of the movie adaptation. But these comics here. I mean, I always love these covers for some reason. They're kind of weird. They're very marvelous at the time. But the stories, they weren't that great, to be honest. Nevertheless, they bring back a lot of memories of seeing these covers. I bought it. I bought every one of them. They're like 18 issues. Did you buy this?
I did, but again, I only have a few of those left. But IDW did an omnibus edition of those.
Yes, they put a lot of omnibuses of these old Trek comics,
and it's kind of in 2 different omnibuses. It's in the movie series and in the original.
Yeah, me too, Mark. See, I wish I don't have a 4K, but I mean, I wish they would just do a Blu-ray of the director's cut. They don't even have a Blu-ray of the director's cut. I don't have a 4K though, man, but yeah, I wish they would do that also. But yeah, I love seeing these old covers. I mean, there was a time when we thought, this wasn't a very good book. I bought every one of them. But yeah, they even had a Gil Kane issue.
Yeah, he stood in for somebody. What was it? Dave Cockrum was doing it back then.
They had a bunch of different artists, yeah.
No, Dave Cockrum was the regular one for a while, and Gil Kane.
Yeah,
I don't know what happened. Maybe Dave Cockrum said, "Hey, let me go try this X-Men thing," and I guess he's lucky because he was a very good artist, even starting out. But who was his inker? Tom Palmer. I know you love Tom Palmer.
Yeah, I'm not a Tom Palmer kind of a guy. Everyone loves him. But yeah, Klaus Janson inked him on the movie adaptation. I don't know who inked that book regularly.
But Tom Palmer did several issues. But saying that is like you could say anybody did several issues.
I forgot to load it, but notice the cover at the bottom right there. The bottom to the second to the left, the Mike Nasser cover.
Yep.
These are all good covers. They're fun covers. Yeah. But Mike Netzer, did he become Mike Netzer?
His real name was Mike Netzer. It's sort of like the Ernie Chua, Ernie Chan thing, where I think he wrote Mike Nasser because he didn't want to be identified on the street or whatever, and he became Mike Netzer. He moved to Israel, I think, and then when he moved back, he was going by his name Mike Netzer, and he worked for Continuity for a while, and apparently had some trouble with Neil Adams. They had a falling out.
Well, yep. Around that time, of course, while Marvel was printing their comic book, the LA Times had a syndicated comic strip. And I used to love this thing. A good friend of ours would go every week and buy the Houston Chronicle because our local paper didn't have it. He collected, as you know, we were talking about. He collected every one of these. It
was very well drawn.
He clipped it. I mean, they had a lot of different artists on this strip. I like Thomas Warkington.
Yep.
The best. But there were a lot of them, though.
Look at Lieutenant Ilea right there.
Yeah, Ilea's here. Don't ask me why. You can read the, there's a couple more of the UK ones, by the way. Some more looks at the UK one, by the way, that I just showed you earlier. But yeah, this was this was really a well-drawn strip for a while there. And even, it had Color Sunday supplements. That's some Workington right there. Yeah. And of course it had the dailies, and even this lasted right up until Wrath of Khan came out. This strip here, oh man, when was that? It was right up somewhere up in the, we'll put it to you like this: toward the end of these strips, they had the Wrath. I wish I'd found a picture of it. They were wearing the Wrath of Khan uniforms, and IDW also did this nice collection of those, the LA Times strips. Yeah, these are a lot of fun. Yeah, so do you have this one? This is a pretty good book.
I've seen it. I didn't get that one when it was standing right in front of my face. I said, "Let me get this book," and I said, "No, maybe I should wait," and I did. So I never got it. Gene Day also did an issue of Star Trek.
That's Marvel. Right, he did. He did, didn't he? Damn, the great Gene Day, folks. Wow, God, he was great.
Master of Kung Fu.
Almost got to do Batman.
He was destined to do Batman. He was going to do Batman, and then he died.
Did one cover. Yeah, that would have been nice. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, I forgot he did an issue of that. Yeah, there you go. And then of course a couple of years later, or not too long later, DC. Can you guess who's missing and who's on that great George Perez cover of the first DC run of the license?
Yeah. Only one person with pointed ears on that cover.
Yeah. Because, of course, they had to wait. We were waiting back then, and those of us who were old enough to remember, going to see the Wrath of Khan and remember those years in between it from 1982 to 1984 before Star Trek 3: The Search for Spock came out. And DC was in something of a predicament. Now, personally, this series, when I first got it, I was really excited about it. I think, we all talked about it back then. I mean, this great Perez cover. I was personally not all that thrilled with the interiors by artists like Tom Sutton, things like that. And Mike Barr, look, a lot of people like Mike Barr's writing. I never did. If you read some of these, they have some interesting stories, but they rehash dialogue too much. From the series, different things like that. I don't know. It just wasn't my bag, this comic. I tried with it for a while. They got too much into some of that. For a while they were flying the Excelsior, and
yeah,
and they got too much into the Mirror Universe crap, rehashing that things like that. But like I say, if you ever pick them up, and again, if you ever get that CD that has all the comics on it, you can read any ones you want. And now I just wonder how it would be. Let's see. Lord Toth says, Oh man. Oh, okay. Well, you like those, then that's cool, man. You got the whole run of them. That's great. You have, well, we're going to get to the other DC run in a second, but I'm sure you have those then as well. Then talk. Well, that's cool, man. Excellent. But yeah, I was never super big on it personally. It was like a little smattering of a lot of the different comics of that era. We're going to talk about different ones from here and there, but a little smattering. But DC. After about, early on in that series, they did something that was later. Look, I don't know if Roddenberry was inspired by this or not, because you will never know. But one of the interesting things about the first DC run, because there were back-to-back runs. In other words, they did it for about 8 years, and they just completely scrapped all their continuity from their first run, which started with this issue of number one here. But interestingly enough, there was a crew member, and his name wasn't Worf, and none of the established Klingon lore that the Next Generation put into place, starting from Heart of Glory in the first season, and moving up from there and all that stuff, none of it had been established. All we knew about Klingons is what we saw in the original series. If you read some novels here and there, but still, they weren't established. Their whole history and their all the things that make so many people want to be Klingons and speak Klingon and all that stuff wasn't there.
Klingons never bathe. Klingons fart in airlocks.
Yes, that's David Gerald said that, right?
Yep.
David Gerald said that about Klingons. But later, of course, as we know, there was a whole history and a lore added to Klingons and stuff. But for a while there was a pacifist, as he's been described, sort of Klingon member of the crew. Kind of based on the motion picture Klingons, as you can see here, named Conan. And let's see here. Well, yeah. Well, Gray Morrow was fantastic. You're right about that, man. I love Gray Morrow. He was one of the best artists on those comics.
Kurt Swan did a couple, I think, but it didn't feel right for some reason. Because I was so used to seeing him do Superman, I guess. Yeah.
Raquel, what needs to happen is I can figure out a copy. I just need to send you that flash drive or whatever with all those comics on it, and you can just skim all the comics from the Gold Key stuff all the way up to the 2000s. That's the best way to do it. Obviously, it's great to collect them. Don't get me wrong, but if you just want to get an overview, see what you like, and just learn about all the different stories. But yes, this guy became a member of the Excelsior crew, right?
Yeah.
Under Kirk.
And I didn't hear. Here's the thing about Star Trek comics. Okay, you had continuity. I guess some people felt like they were wedded to it, but they didn't necessarily have to go in and do a Star Trek comic without Spock because he died in Wrath of Khan. Anybody back then who thought Spock was never coming back didn't know Star Trek. But throwing in an alien character is kind of what they did. They did it on the Saturday morning show. They had several.
Yeah. Well, it's a done deal. Let me figure out how to copy that, Raquel, and I'll send it to you. It's just a flash drive thing. I'm sure it can be. I could convert it because you need to make a copy of it for you anyway. I got it right here. It's got he put a bunch of stuff on that thing for me, including all issues of the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man, I think some other ones. And it's got just I think everything up right to before IDW. So, and then everyone after this Klingon character, by the way, let's see, he married a human woman. There was a character named Bear Claw, who was everyone thought was a total a-hole. They had a couple. They had I believe they added some characters from the animated series. Lieutenant Eriks was on there. I don't know if Mress might have been on there as well. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I think Eriks was in it, right, from the animated series. Yeah. So there you go. But yes, then DC came back, and they just around 89, I think it was, after Star Trek V is it, because they did adapt, Star Trek 4. Actually, they adapted Star Trek 3, then they kind of had to shift their continuity around, but they just kept the same continuity for a while. They adapted Trek 4, and they again shifted their continuity again to fit it. But eventually, they would start back over again and discard all of the continuity that they'd had the previous 6, 7, 8 years, whatever it was. And these are some examples of that, as you can see. Jerome Moore did a lot of this art.
He did some of the best Star Trek covers ever. And if you go to his Facebook page, he has them where you can see them in albums on his Facebook profile. Did he draw any of the interiors? I
thought he did, but you got to remember, it was sort of, I know Scott Young was buying all these at the time, but I wasn't. I buy them every now and then, but I don't know if you were buying. I mean, my comic buying habits were not a lot of mainstream at that point.
Yeah, I think Jerome Moore might have done the two Lost in Space tribute stories that were written by Bill Mooney and Peter David.
Yeah. Well, DC had it for a while there, folks, and then for a good while, and they eventually started getting Next Generation, and there was actually this series that kind of tied both generations together. I bought this one. Yeah. It wasn't that bad. Bodala Imperative.
Yeah. That last one down there is, I think, the trade paperback.
Yes. Yeah.
The art wasn't terrible, but it didn't look very inspired either. It looked like, well, this is how we draw Kirk's face over and over again. And remember I was complaining about how stupid the dialogue was in Next Generation comic. Hello, Captain Picard. Hello, Wesley Crusher. How are you doing? Hello, Commander Data. Hello, Mr. Worf. Everybody was called by their rank and their name in that first issue.
Yeah. There was some really crap bag writing.
Yeah. Lieutenant Commander Riker, how are you today? I'm okay, Counselor Deanna Troi.
Yeah, it was.
Would you like to team up with me and Lieutenant Tasha Yar later and go play Pinochle with Lieutenant Commander Worf?
Yeah, but after a while though, they had a couple of good writers that started doing some of these books. Before we get to Peter David, right? What's that guy's name? Henry or Hank Weinstein? Something like. What's that guy's name? But he wrote an episode of the animated series.
I was gonna say Harvey Weinstein.
No, not Harvey.
Not him.
No, I forget the guy's first name, but he wrote one of the animated series episodes, and he wrote some good stuff here. And then
he wrote some novels too.
Yeah, he wrote some novels. God, I don't remember his damn name. It's all Harvey Weinstein's fault. But Peter David was not only really good at writing Star Trek novels, which he was, and and the Hulk and things like that, of course. He was a really good writer, and he wrote a lot of really good Star Trek stuff, even in the comics.
Yeah, he wrote a novel, and he turned it. Howard Weinstein. He wrote a novel called Q and Law, and he turned it into, I think it was pocketbooks, and they said, nah, we don't want this. Just take it away. We don't want it. We're not going to deal with this. So Peter David had the great idea. He sent it to Majel Barrett, and she read it, and she called Pocketbooks and said, print this book. And not only did they print it, they did an audio book that sounded like an episode, because it was Majel Barrett Roddenberry and John Delancey doing the voices, reading the story as the main characters.
Yeah. Wow. Well, they had a lot of good covers, and they did it for a number of years.
Yeah.
And now, folks, toward the end of the, excuse me. One second, everyone.
And now the dark times.
Yeah, sorry. I thought I hit the button. Anyway. Toward the end of the run for DC came this classic. I mean, this is widely considered by many one of the best, if not the best, Star Trek comic book ever done. Here's the poster for it. Star Trek Debt of Honor by Chris Claremont and Adam Hughes. Here's the hardcover cover of it.
Dave Dorman, I
Yep.
think.
That is, I believe that is Dave Dorman, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the soft cover of it. You know, I bet you.
Tom McCraw.
Yeah, good stuff. And I reckon, you know, by the way, I don't know if any of you have a place called Ollie's Discount. What's it? Ollie's Discount. What do they call it?
Ollie's Bargain Outlet.
Mark with a C. Thanks for popping in, my friend. Yeah, Ollie's Bargain Outlet. It's all over the country. Yeah, I mean, this is really good. This is the story of James T. Kirk, as close as we'll ever get to his backstory. Backstory. Yeah.
And a sequel to 4.
Huh?
It wasn't a sequel to Star Trek 4?
Well, yeah, it takes place. It starts out right after that. Yes, sir. And it is, of course. Well, this is quite good. This is
really well drawn. It's probably about the best drawn Star Trek comic out there.
Well, Adam Hughes is terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they have he's actually with, if you want to use that word, Jillian from Star Trek 4 at the beginning of this thing.
Dr. Jillian Taylor.
Dr. Jillian Taylor. Sorry. But anyway, Ollie's Discount Outlet. This here, and I mean this DC version, because there's an IDW reprint, but well, you can find this thing for a couple of bucks. They have 40 copies at every Ollie's they ever go to. They have a nice book section where you can get a lot of cheap trade paperbacks and hardcovers and stuff. I see this there every time. I was just there yesterday. The one about Rizzo was like 50 copies there. Not 50, but a lot. For like what, $5? Like $5 or something?
Yeah, less than 5. Some places like $2.95.
Yeah, I just think, well, high print run, I guess. This was of course in the actual real Marvel DC graphic novel format, not a trade paperback format. And it was a new story, so it is an actual real graphic novel, not a reprint.
Mine is a hardback with a dust jacket. Yeah.
If you got an Ollie's anywhere near you, folks, and you had to pick that one up, it's a great comic.
Some jackhole got Adam Hughes to sign it for me.
I forgot who did that. Who did that for me?
Some jerk. Weird.
Who was that? I don't remember that.
That was a jackwagon named you.
Could have been me.
It said to my favorite asshole. So
I did that?
Yes, you did that.
I don't remember that.
Yes, you were at a convention that I couldn't go to, and there he was. So
I thought that was Dave Sim.
No. Dave Sim wrote something like he called me Smeghead because, like an idiot, I wrote Smeghead on my convention badge. To Smeghead. But he drew me a Cerebus head. But yeah, Adam Hughes, not to my favorite, to a real asshole. You told him to write to a real asshole, so that's what he did. And I still have the book. You asshole.
I don't remember that at all. I have to see it to believe it.
I have proof. I have evidence.
I have no memory of that, folks.
Yeah. That was back when you were not doing any hallucinogenic drugs or drinking at all. Your clear mind let you let go of that memory.
Laura said my Twitter link doesn't work in your Oh, okay. I'll fix that later. Thank you, Lord Top. I'm sorry.
That's a nice Klingon ship on there.
Yeah, it'd be a shame if something happened to it.
That's a very well portrayed. Was it the DB7 or something, or what they call it?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so DC eventually, for some reason, DC would lose the. I find my pictures on this. Would lose the license for Star Trek. I don't know why.
It was a money thing. Whoever owned it at the time, was it Paramount? Kept wanting more money.
Right.
And after that, Paramount teamed up with Marvel.
Nope. There's one in the middle. Malibu.
Oh yeah, Malibu. Ew.
Deep Space Nine's first comics, of course, where this was in between DC's run and Marvel's second crack at it. It was Malibu.
Yeah.
And they did a few things. They didn't do much, but they did.
They had their actors write issues too.
Yeah. So yeah. It's again. This was. I never really picked this up at the time. I wasn't really watching Deep Space Nine at the time. I'm a big fan of it now. Love it. But now I have these. I can go back and read them on this thing.
I have a third one over on the top from the left. I'm sure that's one of the ones that one of the actors wrote. Maybe Siddiq El Fadil, who changed his name later. Alexander
Siddiq, yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was something that, again, this was, I never read it, but I probably will one day now that I have it. A crossover, team up, or whatever.
Yeah.
In the mighty Malibu manner. This was actually, because the license was still kind of split, this was a joint effort between DC and Malibu, if I'm done.
Well, Malibu didn't say no to anybody. Remember, they did crossovers with Marvel, too, and then Marvel basically swallowed them up.
Well, Marvel swallowed them up. That's true.
And destroyed all their characters except for one or two.
As Smart Steve points out there. Malibu,
did it start off as a division of Marvel? I thought it was like a small.
No, they swallowed them up.
Press comic. I mean, I thought they started out as an independent comic group, but I do remember what was the Black Knight? They had an Avengers Ultraverse crossover, and I think the what was his name? Dane Torrance, the Black Knight,
Prime
stayed in that universe, and somehow ended up back at Marvel. Probably because Marvel gobbled up Malibu and farted out Black Knight.
Lord Top, that's one I can't. I mean, I love Green Lantern, but that was a crossover with Fake Trek because Jar Jar Abrams is Steino Star Trek, and name only his filthy, disgusting, maggot-infested reboot is not real Trek to me. So that's why I won't be included here. But I remember that. Yeah, Nightman. There you go.
Don't mince words, Mike. What do you really think?
Eat a bag of chicken.
They did a Star Trek Legion of Superheroes, and
we're getting there.
Star Trek. God, you can't keep people off of Star Trek.
We're getting there. And then, of course, Marvel Paramount.
Yeah.
Came out, but
didn't last long.
No, it didn't last long, but some of them were okay. I like this one.
Yeah, they did some really interesting stuff with Star Trek. Finally.
Yeah. But yeah, I did like some of them. I like this one, which takes up this one, of course, like the other time Marvel got a hold of it took place after the motion picture. And Untold, there were some pretty good issues, and for those who need a backstory to Savick, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some crazy crossovers, Lord Toth. I'll tell you that, buddy. But I know you didn't like it, but I like this series. I like the Captain Pike series, Early Voyages. I thought it was kind of fun just to get this, because at the time, as you know, because I don't count, the drivel, the STD.
I think Robert April. They put Robert April in there too, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they did in this. This is like 16 issues, maybe something like that.
17 issues.
17, and this also has been reprinted in an omnibus thingy, everyone, that you can find. But again, Marvel Paramount did a few crazy things. Well, they did a few things. They did what's wrong with this thing?
Yeah, I have that one right
StreamYard.
here. Star Trek Omnibus Volume 2. It has Pike on the cover instead of Kirk firing a phaser. Well, the Enterprise, which doesn't really look like his Enterprise, looks like Kirk's Enterprise, but he does have the old phaser from the Cage and the Menagerie. And it should be available. I mean, I got mine at Second and Charles. I couldn't believe I walked away from it. It was $6.95. I walked away from it, and then a few days later, I drove back over there. It was like an hour to get there, and it was still there because I was the only one who looked at it and said, nobody else is going to buy this. And everybody else looked at it and said, hey, this is in my way. Where's that episode of Gossip Girl I was looking for? So I finally grabbed it up, and all 17 issues are in one. And let me read you the tagline from the last. It has nothing to do with the story. It says, next, what happens will sadly be a mystery because this issue is the last. And that's all it says. That's how the book ended.
Oh man! Well, this was kind of okay. I thought. I mean, it wasn't as good as Untold. I only had a couple of these, but didn't last long. Now, maybe you got this one. I don't think you did either. But this is just this one here.
I've got that issue.
I don't know what the deal is.
No clue what it is. I don't even think I cracked it.
Looks like Nog is in it.
Nog. Oh yeah, so it's probably from the 24th century. Yeah, it looks like it could be.
Cover sucks.
Yeah, who drew that?
Looks very like imagey.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Looks like somebody was trying to impress Rob Liefeld and Mark Sylvester at the same time.
All right, everyone, buckle up for some insanity. You ready for some insanity? We got some insanity. A couple of you have been talking about ridiculous Star Trek comic book crossovers, and they're the only kinds of Canadian Spider-Man does whatever a Canadian spider can. Good to see you there, my friend. Thanks for popping in. I'm always pleased to see you, sir.
Canadian spiders just sit in the corner, eh? They wait for you to come over with a can of bug spray, and they say, sorry, we leave, don't worry. Eh?
Well, I don't have confirmation on that. That everyone with the opinions expressed by Venomous Prime are his own, and I love Canadians.
Hey, I've been in Canada. I've stayed in Canada for a while.
Toff, by the way, how many issues was there of this one? Toff said he liked this series, so maybe it was pretty good then. You can't judge by a cover. I never bought this, so I appreciate that, Lord Toff. Again, I have it. I will check it out and read that, because that's another thing about this. There are a lot of these that I still either I haven't read in a long time, or never checked out, never gave much of a shot. So any information anyone's got, if you think one of these we were talking about was good and we didn't try it, hey, recommendation received. So I appreciate that. Listen here. Now, everyone, time for some sickness. Insanity. Hey, I'm just report the news. I don't make it. This happened. You're going to say no. You went and drew this just to fuck with us, or you just... Pardon my language, everyone. Well, that's YouTube. They don't care. You're doing this to screw around. You're making it up, Photoshop or whatever. No. This, what I'm about to show you, really did happen. There you go. Mark C just spoiled it for me. Mark with a C. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
This happened.
And
this is not a hoax, not an imaginary story.
Not the only one they did either.
No, I got the other one, but yeah.
Look at Wolverine. He's looking for a toilet.
What? Scott Lobdell's a crap writer anyway. Didn't he write this one?
Yeah, there was that one scene that made everybody laugh because Spock knocked out Wolverine, and he came to before he was supposed to, and he says, "It's called a healing factor, bub." Okay. He didn't hurt him. He didn't hurt. He didn't hurt Wolverine. He pinched him. He put him to sleep. It was like a nerve pinch, and it's not something that's gonna cause him to die. And when he pops back to, it's called a nerve. It's called a healing factor, bub.
Only in comics.
Yeah.
Can you do this?
Not only did they do it in comics, they did novels.
Yeah, they did novels. Yeah, that's right.
Yep. There you go, Planet X.
Oh my God.
And
yeah, I don't get it.
Strangely, they couldn't make Professor X look like Patrick Stewart on the cover of that book.
Yeah, I guess you couldn't do that, can you? I'm afraid even I don't understand.
And wait, in the next generation, this next generation X-Men comic book crossover, wasn't it? I might be remembering wrong. Wasn't it during the time where Professor X was dead again?
Yeah, it was. I believe at this point he was probably dead for the 15th.
So they only needed one Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, if this didn't lose the license for Marvel, I don't know what did. Maybe it did. Oh, there we go. Mutual friend of ours, apparently of Mark's and yours and mine, has an original page from Star Trek X-Men. I do not. You know who it is?
No.
I'll get it. Well, you can just private me with a message with him if you want there, Mark. See who it is. I have a suspicion who it might be. And after this point, ladies and gerbils, the license changed hands again and went to a place called Wildstorm, which was basically Image. DC eventually picked him up.
Wildstorm, I think, was Mark Silvestri's part of
it was Mark
Image.
He broke off, his part of Image was sort of splintered at that point. Yeah. DC eventually picked up Wildstorm, but I'm not sure if they had it at this point or not. It doesn't really matter.
Well, you can bet if DC owned the license to Star Trek now, you would only be seeing pictures of Zachary Quinto and Chris Pine.
Yeah, it was really DC getting it back again because they pretty much had Wildstorm. That's right. I remember now that. So it was a DC thing, but it was just an imprint of theirs because they kept it for a while. But Mark Silvestri. Whoa! I just got buzzed. Let's see here. Sorry. Oh, there we go. Oh, okay. There he is. I see what you're talking about now. Thanks, man. Cool. I did not know he had one of those. Yeah, well, that's nice. If you don't, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about when I said that, right?
No.
I said it was nice.
Oh, okay. Really?
Yeah.
I didn't even think he liked that.
It's an original page. But yeah, it was. So anyway, Wildstorm, the DC imprint had the book for a while. Absolutely, Raquel Briggs. Never forget.
Yeah.
Never forget.
Well, actually, it's still alive today because I've got my Blu-rays of Star Trek right over there.
It'll always be alive to us.
Yep.
And but they had some interesting covers. I didn't read much of it. But they're there, and I think, again, I have them now, so I can always go back and look at it. They had another one of their crossover deal thingies.
Yeah.
As you can see there. And then at that point, V or PH, Voyager or what? I don't know. Oh, Canadian Spider-Man. Sorry, I thought that was me. Then IDW picked it up, and they have it right now. The franchise
doing a relatively good job with
sometimes with some stuff. This is for you, Mark C. We're coming up on what you're waiting for here, and Mark C. We probably won't do it justice for you, brother, but you just have to bear with me. The IDW has done a lot of good Trek comics. I recommend a lot of them. Again, I don't recommend any of them that are based on the ersatz filth of
Jar Jar Trek.
of Jar Jar Dribble, and of
The John Byrne ones, the miniseries that he did, like the Aliens.
We're getting there.
Okay,
But
well,
yeah. I'm sorry, but I was setting that up.
The version of Short Treks, IDW handles it really well.
Yeah. Well, there were some of these different alien type stories, but John Byrne, who is a name any comic book fan will know, and I've never liked much of his writing on some of the superhero stuff he's done. Some I have, not much I haven't, but I've loved his art on occasion. But he has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that he can really write Star Trek. And he started doing some miniseries. He's done several Romulan ones, I believe, or a couple Romulan ones, right?
Yeah.
And then sorry, here we go. He's also done a couple series called Star Trek Assignment Earth. You all are familiar with I don't have to tell any Trek fan here what that is, what that's based on. An episode of the same name, Gary Seven's exploits. And then I really loved Star Trek Crew, which of course takes place the launch of the original USS Constitution class ship, and chronicles Robert April, Number One. This is a really, really great Trek comic right here, and I got more coming from Byrne. Don't worry. Let's see. We're getting some questions. Let's see.
Okay.
Clobberin times were there. Say again.
What did you think of the way they handled Number One across the board?
I liked it.
DC. Cool. No, I'm talking about DC. DC got rid of her by having a bunch of crap fall on her and breaking her back, so she went away. That was how they did it. But this was Star Trek Crew was a really good portrayal of Number One.
Yeah, because you're right. They did one issue where they just dumped her, literally dumped her, just made something horrible happen to her. So it was
an annual.
Yeah, it was an annual. Were these expensive at the time? No. The cover price was just the same as any other cover. They were probably $2.99 or whatever. So at that point, if I remember right, or something like that, which they were standard size comic books. If that's what you're asking, there, Canadian. Hey, Lord Toth, you got to run. Thanks for popping in, buddy. Kapla. Appreciate you being here. Let's see what some people are saying here. The great thing about Byrne's work is the Romulus storyline finds its way as a thread through many of his books to the final conclusion, which is amazing. Yes, it was really good stuff, and I really enjoyed this one. Now, I want to read this one again in a while. Do you remember this one?
I remember it,
McCoy,
but I'm pretty sure I got it packed away somewhere. I don't know if that was ever in a trade paperback.
I think they did one. This one here was a bit. Well, I'm going to show you something in a minute. In speaking of that, but this one here, of course, takes place in the years after the motion picture, the solo adventures of Dr. McCoy, and it's been a while since I've read it, but it's a lot of fun if I'm remembering right. Let's see here. Let's see here what Mark says. Byrne writes Number One again as an older officer who's captain of the USS Yorktown.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Eastman Burkholder. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you for popping in. And so, then, of course, there's this big bad boy right here. All of his, I think this. Now, Mark C., you have this. I don't. Does this collect Crew and Dr. McCoy and Assignment Earth and all of his other stories? It says the Byrne collection for IDW, so I'm assuming it does. If it does not, just let me know, because, again, none of the IDW stuff's on that disc, so this will be... You don't have this, do you?
No.
That'd be pretty good to get. Mark C. will know the answer. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say it backwards? You're right. It's between the series and the motion picture. Sorry, Mark. That's what I meant to say, man. I've read it. I'm fully aware of that, and I got it backwards because I'm old and stupid. And stupid and old.
You're not
Maybe
that
I got
old.
that backwards. Yeah. Anyway, thank you, Mark C. But he will. Yes, our book has everything, but the photo novels.
I'm checking
speaking
it
of
out.
The photo novels.
I'm checking it out on online. It goes anywhere from $49.99 to $182.95.
Eagle. Oh boy! Now they're sort of comic books in a sense. I mean, what do they call it? Everyone remember the old photo novels, Star Trek photo novels of the 70s? They what do they call those things? Fumettis or whatever?
A fumetti was like a picture, and you just put a few word balloons around, making the people look stupid. But these are photo novels. You talking about the stuff John Byrne did? He did like.
Well, yeah. No, I'm saying, aren't photo novels supposed to be like fumettis, like they use paper?
Well, a fumetti is something that's like really quick. It's like 2 or 3 panels or 4 panels. This was not a fumetti because he actually used Photoshop, took scenes from the show, juxtaposed them against others. Like there were characters that they didn't meet. He would hire an actor to pose in a stupid costume that William Ware Theiss would never create and interact with the characters from the show. And he would use really stupid Photoshop effects. Again, I got all of these. I got them because it was Star Trek and it was real Star Trek. Notice he never did a Next Generation. He only did Star Trek with those.
Yeah, he only likes the original series.
Yeah.
He's not into the other ones. These are, but then for folks who don't know, these are like those old photo novels. Byrne uses a lot of Photoshop to tell news stories that take place during the All-Star. These are like $10 a pop. Take place during TOS. And I have a few of them. You got them all. I have a few. They're pretty good reads for what I've read of them anyway. But they're kind of goofy looking in some ways. But I mean, it's not necessarily a comic, but it's IDW and it's by a comic book, well-known comic book artist. So.
It's actual photographs from the TV series, not the movie.
Yes.
William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, and the rest of the cast. And he writes whole different stories around them. And sometimes you look at the pictures and you can say, oh, this is from Trouble with Tribbles.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Use this picture. Yeah. But
there's a finite number of pictures from that series that you can use. And I guess they're owned by somebody and you don't really have to pay the actors any kind of residuals.
Right. So anyway, this, if you're interested in this sort of thing, I mean, you might enjoy it. The ones I've read, I thought were okay. Interesting stories. He doesn't. I think it was the first one. I don't know if it's the first one. He did one that was a sequel to Where No Man Has Gone Before, which was sort of like Gary. I'm not sure he needed to mess with that, but it's kind of like Gary Mitchell's Redemption. I don't know if you remember that story, but it was interesting.
Well, yeah, they did that with something else too. I
know
that was the X-Men Star Trek crossover.
Yeah, they're not the only ones to mess with Gary Mitchell.
Yeah. What did Gary Mitchell ever do but try to destroy the universe?
Yeah, what was it? Q squared or something?
Yeah.
Time for another crossover, everyone. But this one actually is one that is not weird and a bad concept, and I thought it was actually kind of okay because it makes more sense, and we'll never see it in real life. But Star Trek Doctor Who. Now, actually, I should show this other cover first because this cover here is kind of misleading. This story, and I think the Tipton guy can write some pretty good Trek. At this time, this was when Matt Smith was the Doctor.
But that other thing did actually take place within that series.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that because it was the 11th Doctor. Yes, the 11th. Meets the Enterprise crew. And anyway, they fight the Borg and the Cybermen. You know, obviously you cross over the villains as well. It was kind of fun. It was the Doctor. At this point, it was the Doctor and Amy and Rory meeting the Next Gen crew and all that stuff. But they have sort of like a flashback thingy a short story where and there's a variant, one of the variant covers where the fourth Doctor meets the original crew, and of course one of the old time Cybermen. If you're a Doctor Who fan as well as a Trek fan like I am, it was kind of a fun story. I enjoyed it because that makes a lot more sense than the freaking X-Men. Okay,
it was drawn in kind of the classic style, whereas the other ones were painted.
Yeah. This was drawn more like exactly. That's a good point. Yeah, but I like this one. I thought it was a pretty decent story. But I wasn't big on the painting, some of the way that guys painted stuff. But
it looked like they a lot of the stuff was rushed, and whoever the artist was, Lee or Tipton. It just says Tipton, Lee, and Woodard.
Yeah.
Unless there's a guy named Tipton and another guy named Lee Woodard.
Scott Tipton was the writer.
Okay, well, the artists did a really good job for the time they had, and I don't think it came in late. Some books, Camelot 3000. I'm looking at you.
Oh yeah.
11 months between 2 issues.
Lee Anthony Davis, thanks for popping in, sir. Good. Go ahead, I'm sorry. You there? But you did read this also, then. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah. And it is in trade paperback somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, this was fun, but again, it's a crossover that works, because they're the two biggest science fiction TV shows of all time. Even though Doctor Who is, in some cases a lot more fantasy than science fiction, it still works enough. There was an old crossover prose story in a fanzine magazine called Enterprise, or Enterprise Incidents, excuse me, called The Doctor and the Enterprise, written about, Fourth Doctor in the original series. Because back then there was only one Star Trek series, and which I thought was pretty good. Somebody actually did a little novelization of it, or like compiled it into sort of a one story thing. But this is, of course, that Doctor Who and Star Trek is a kind of crossover. That in other words, you never sit around going, gee, I wish the X-Men would meet the Enterprise crew. It's stupid, and Marvel should have done it. But this works, and you can see the Doctor meeting them and having an adventure like that. So let's see. I see what you're saying there, Mikhail. Sorry about that. Now back to another crazy crossover. However, it's not that it's that great, but if you are going to team up Star Trek, the Enterprise crew, the original series, if with superheroes, it should at least be the most Star Trek-like superhero comic of all, and that is, of course, my beloved Legion of Superheroes. Again, there's a Mike Allred cover, and then there's like I believe I forget who did this cover here. But again, not a great idea.
They went to pains to explain that it was alternate universe. An alternate universe.
But the Legion of Superheroes is the most Star Trek-like superhero group because they're in the far-flung future.
Remember their starship that they had that looked kind of like the Enterprise from the 70s?
Yeah. Mike Grell one, speaking of.
Yeah.
Speaking of, there was a Mike Grell alternate cover. I don't think I ever got this one. But yeah, this story, one of the things that kind of bugged me about the story a little bit was they didn't use like the Allred cover on the right. They didn't even use all those Legionnaires, but on the other one is a more accurate depiction. They only used 5 Legionnaires, if I remember right. I don't think Brainiac 5 even meets Spock, which you'd think would happen. That would just be, I don't know. I would want to see that, but yeah, let's see. I disagree with Smart Steve. I respectfully disagree. There are Guardians of the Galaxy, yeah, they're all right, but they're no Legion. They're a ripoff of the Legion. Legion is the greatest futuristic superhero team of all. I love the Guardians, but I mean they're not a pimple on the Legion's big.
And they're all teenagers, and they're limited into how many people can be in the Legion. What is it, like 28 or something?
Yeah.
You can only have so many Legionnaires.
Yeah,
but then you have a substitute Legion that has I don't know how many.
Yeah.
Arm fall off, boy.
But yeah, again, this was just dopey fun, but it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't all that great of a story. But at this point, what I'll explain to you is this. This point, of course, this was years after the filthy Jar Jar Abrams crap. There was no real Trek being made other than in comics. We're never going to get it back. So, and the same thing, many years, my favorite Wonderful Legion that I love so much had not been seen, had not been done in forever. So I was getting two things I loved that I never was going to get that much in the same comic book together. So, yeah, I was happy. And, nope, not. Well, if Legion ripped Guardians, dude, it predates Guardians by about over a decade and a half, or at least a decade. So no, Legion came before Guardians, my friend. Sorry, not even close. And I think you know that, Smart Steve. You just rounded me up.
Like, hello, Clark Kent. Hello, Superboy. How do they know?
Just for that, Smart Steve, I'm going to make you look at another weird crossover. Oh, there we go. By the way, Lee Anthony Daniels. I called you Anthony Daniels. Sorry, dude. It just kind of rolled there. Lee Anthony Davis. I joined his Blake 7 group on Facebook. Yes, indeed, man. It was great meeting, being over there. And Noel is a great dude who joined it as well. And Tardis Zone. Link to him in the bio below. We've been having fun with those Blake 7 watch parties. Here you go, Smart Steve. This is your punishment, man. You got to look at another ridiculous crossover. This is. Are you ready? Hope you're laying down, man. It is. Look, this is freaking. Look, I love the animated series, and I have nothing against Transformers, my friends. By the way, I actually bought this. So that's how crazy I am. So Star Trek, the animated series, and Transformers.
I don't think I did. I think I looked at it and went, eh.
I bought one issue, but, Wes likes it. So, yeah, that's dedicated to you, my friend, Steve, Smart Steve. Read it and weep. Now, actually, look, it's a cute idea. At least it's real Trek, but it's better than Star Trek X-Men. At least it's the animated series. But I thought you'd see if you'd have you read? Smart Steve, have you read that one? I don't know. Oh, okay. Maybe you read that one. All right. And I've had to dump pretty much all comic books anyway. We're pretty much as a pictorial. We've gone for almost the whole very basic history. So the only other picture I got really is this is the only one of the few comics I'm actually following right now. Star Trek Year 5.
Yeah. I think that's a Hildebrandt cover.
Yeah. That's nice. Nice cover.
He's no Frank Frazetta, which is a good thing because Frank Frazetta died several years ago, and Greg or Tim Hildebrandt, one of them died, but the other one who's left is still doing stuff like this.
Doug, you just wait, man. It's going to happen. It's going to be your fault.
Star Trek, Pokemon.
Yeah, just wait, buddy. Doug, it's going to happen, and we're going to be blaming you, man.
Spocky Chew, I choose you.
Now, a couple of the other ones I did not load pictures of, but I'll just tell you about that they've done through IDW, and I probably could be missing some, by the way. There's a Star Trek Planet of the Apes, is there not?
It is bad.
I did not get it.
There was a photo cover that was meant to look like the Gold Key Star Trek cover. It had Charlton Heston on the cover, and of course Shatner. And I guess it's a bad idea. Okay, it is a bad idea. You go basically a few hundred years past the time period for Star Trek and say, oh, the Earth is overrun by intelligent apes. And this astronaut from before you started flying in space is stuck there. And we're going to have an adventure with him and Zira and Cornelius, strangely enough. That one is, I love Star Trek and I love Planet of the Apes, but it's not two tastes that taste great together. But I
No.
did get the sketch cover, the blank cover, and I brought it to Ethan Van Sciver at Wizard World in New Orleans. And I was thinking, what am I going to get him to draw in here? What am I going to? And then I remembered Mark Leonard was on both series.
True. Yeah.
So Mark Leonard, of course, he played the Romulan commander. He played Sarek, and he played Urko on Planet of the Apes. So I said, "Can you draw a gorilla with pointed ears?" And he said, yeah. It ended up being yeah, because he had no photo reference for it. And I opened it up to the first page. I said, "There you go." There was Urko on the first page. So he closed it. He kept looking at it, and he even sketched it on the paper on the table. I should have torn that thing off when he was gone and taken it home with me. But it was his idea, though. After he drew this gorilla with a pointed ear, have him giving the Vulcan salute with a glove, with Urko's glove on. And it has to be the worst drawing that Ethan Van Sciver has ever done. But it's the only one of Sarek Urko. And it's mine.
Yeah, for anyone who wants to see those covers, if you
there you go.
Yeah, Star Trek Planet of the Apes. Return to the Planet of the Apes.
There's one that had the Planet of the Apes. It was like it's down there on the bottom right. It was like a gold. Yeah, that's Super Team Family.
That's a fake one.
Yeah, I know, but that's the guy who does those crossovers. But on the bottom right is the Star Trek Planet of the Apes photo cover.
Yeah, I saw. Let's see. I thought I had it.
Oh, it's down on the bottom. Yeah. Not on the thing you're scrolling up and down. Right there. There you go.
Could find a good picture of it. Or a big one.
Yeah, and there are others. You look at that one with Spock, and it's the gold key Star Trek logo.
Oops. Yeah. So yeah, it's a small picture of it, but I guess you could all see it. Yeah.
And it's not a very good comic.
No.
At least it's not as bad as King Kong on the Planet of the Apes. And they did actually do a miniseries of that.
Yeah. This is I don't know what the here. Some of these covers are pretty funny though. I mean, there was IDW across from IDW and Boom. I thought some of these were fakes when I first saw them.
Oh yeah, the title of the story was "The Primate Directive."
Primate Directive. Boom, boom. Yeah, we don't make the news, folks. We just report it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were those, and then there was as had been pointed out earlier, they've done crossovers with Fake Threat, but I don't put any of that crap there. Like they had a freaking Green Lantern one, which again I love Green Lantern, but it's just as well that it was Fake Trek. It was Abrams dribble because they do, even though they're still doing real Trek, they even did, I think, and I'm not going to show this because it will make me throw up. They even did a crossover between the real TOS crew original series and the Jar Jar Abrams garbage crew.
Wow, what an idea someone had.
Pretty sure they did that. I could be wrong, but I think I remember seeing something about it.
IDW is the house of ideas. I mean, ID is in their name.
Some of these friggin' covers. Yeah. Some of these are made up.
Yeah.
How about this one?
I like that one. I like the cover.
I like the photo cut. Yeah, the covers are. I love like Meadows was saying. I love Planet of the Apes, especially the original, and love Star Trek, of course. So seeing the covers are kind of fun, but the story is just. Yeah. Well, look, Planet of the Apes also got that. Did they have a Tarzan one?
Yeah, Tarzan on the Planet of the Apes. Tarzan was actually a native of the Planet of the Apes, and he was raised with Cornelius. They were like brothers. Stupid
Some of these
story.
Some of these crossovers.
Now look,
man.
it's like I can't remember the guy's name now. You throw enough shit at the wall, some of it's going to stick. Well, that stuff didn't stick. It was shit though.
Yeah, it's so goddamn stupid. Oh my god!
But I did. I like the photo covers. If I could have bought just the covers, just stand up there and say, "Here, I'll take this," and they go $3.99. They ring it up, and I tear the cover off and say, "Here, put this away."
Yeah. Saw that cover there, and then here's one.
Yeah, that looks like the guy who did the.
Oh my god!
It's the people who did the crossover with Doctor Who and Star Trek.
Well, one of those guys I met at a con, J.K. something, I forget his name now, but he was a pretty cool dude. He drew some of those, painted some of those. And, not all that's fine, but So yeah, two things like you said, the two great things that don't taste great together.
It's not chocolate and peanut butter. It's Star Trek and Planet of the Apes.
Yeah. Still not as bad as Star Trek X-Men.
The art was pretty good though.
Yeah, the art wasn't bad.
I mean, if you're gonna do apes, you should try to make them look like Mike Plug apes.
So, let's see, and Anthony Davis. Idea of a cover is to have Star Trek, Star Wars, Galactica blended in. Well, there you go. That'd be an interesting cover. It'll probably happen.
Hey, all new versions of them though, not the originals.
Yeah, well, yeah, they probably.
You get Edward James Olmos and Chris Pine and what's that girl's name? Daisy Ridley and the people from the Netflix Lost in Space. It sounds like a sci-fi porno. No, in fact, don't do that.
Yeah. This is a pretty good cover. Again, the comic just did not need to happen.
Is that like a take on the George Perez cover?
That looks like a George Perez cover.
Yeah, but the positioning of it looks almost like that cover he did for Star Trek #1.
Well, you could tell by the rocks it's George Perez or somebody ripping him. Yeah. You could So again,
Kirk is fighting a gorilla. He can't win. It's a gorilla. It's not a Gorn.
Yeah. I mean, what is it with 5,000 covers, by the way?
I don't know.
Oh, I'm so sick of that kind of crap.
There was a big collector's market at one time, but I heard the local shop that I go to occasionally, somebody bought every copy. They did 100 variant covers for Walking Dead #100. A guy ordered all 100 of them and bought all of them. It was like, did you give him a discount? The guy goes, 20%. Okay.
This is a pretty good cover, actually. Again, a wasted comic, but this is actually a pretty good cover. Although Kirk's beaming down right at the with the Statue of Liberty right there. I don't even want to read this comic. I know I wouldn't even buy it. I'm like, my brain would hurt.
You probably wish you never heard about it.
Well, yeah, but there's a lot of things you can say that about.
Are we headed for City on the Edge of Forever yet?
Yeah, almost there.
Okay.
Other interesting comics was, Harlan Ellison's. A lot of people don't know this. Again, I forgot to put the picture up there because I was just in a hurry. But IDW did an adaptation, folks. Harlan Ellison's script version of, if you hadn't remembered it, I would have forgotten, so thanks. Of this.
Yep. Very, very nicely done, I thought.
This was well done. It's good. It's an interesting comic.
Yeah.
It's still not better than the episode. Sorry.
No, it's not, because we got used to the episode and we liked the characters. Gene Roddenberry misspoke or just flat out lied when he said Harlan turned in the script, and he had some of my crewmen were dealing drugs, and he said Scotty was dealing drugs. Well, it wasn't Scotty, and the all the pictures again. It's sort of like what John Byrne did, but these people used photographs and did really good paintings of them. But you can tell when it's a new character that wasn't in the show. Guy just painted his uncle or something. But Harlan Ellison does have a cameo appearance in the book as Trooper. That's his character's name in the book, Trooper. And also very nicely painted pictures of Edith Keeler.
Yeah, I would like to see more comics painted with that art of original series, not just adapting the.
Well, they did it because it had never been told. There was a paperback and hardback of the script, and there was like 3 different versions, 3 different evolutions of the script that Ellison did, and you could get it that way. There was also a book years ago called 6 Science Fiction Plays that it appeared in.
Yeah.
And this is the first actual adaptation of Harlan Ellison's real story.
Why was Rand in this thing?
She was in the script.
I know, but she wasn't in the episode. But yeah, she's
no,
already left the show. But it was written before she left the series. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Man, they should do more stories with that kind of art.
Yeah. Well, I kind of think Alex Ross ruined it for everybody. Because after Alex Ross broke into the scene, everybody was trying to do painted stuff, and a lot of people, it was way out of their league. They couldn't do what he could do, but this artist is doing a really good job, and I think it's the same people who did the Next Generation book, the next Doctor Who Next Generation thing.
Yeah, it might be.
And it looks better than that one. It looks tighter, and especially stuff like the buildings and the smaller panels, which it's really hard to paint small, and you're doing it to a scale. You're doing it like it prints out at 1/3 of the original size, unless they're using something larger. But the page on the right here, that looks like it would have been hell to paint. It looks like you had to get some of that really thin tape and tape it off, or maybe they did some post-production work with a computer. But it's really nice. All of that work is evocative of real Star Trek.
It's like looking at an episode. It was really nice for sure.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, they did this, and of course they're still doing the only other comic I'm buying right now, by the way, is Star Trek Year 5, as I'd mentioned to everyone. And and the Orville, basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Same as buying that.
The Orville is like an episode every month. I mean, every month that they put one out.
Yeah, the Orville is a good comic.
Yeah.
They had a bunch of covers of this thing too, and this was, of course, done, everyone, long before Harlan Ellison had tragically passed away. I don't know what he thought of it. Them doing a comic book of it.
I think they had to get his permission to use his script, so he might have had some kind of approval deal with him.
He had enough damn covers, didn't he?
Yeah, that's the guy.
Yeah,
the big burly guy on the bottom of the page. What was his name? He was the guy who was selling drugs to that other guy. And
well, you saw Mark said he went to the local comic shop.
I know. I was there. I had it in my hand, and I'm sorry. I'm not giving it up for anybody. He could have followed me out to the car and beat me up and taken it, but that's the only way he was going to get it.
You should have done that, Mark. See?
Yeah, I'm easy to beat up,
so to speak. Yeah.
And I got the hardback a couple of years later. And my brother asked me if he could have it. I said, "Well, if you ever show up over here, I'm not mailing it to you." He lives in Texas.
Well,
and I never really kept track of what covers I got either. It didn't matter to me the cover, and the hardback has, well, there it is. It's the one up there. It says "City on the Edge Forever," and it's got this basically just cutouts, just silhouettes of stuff where it says "Unlimited" for some reason. Mine doesn't say that, but that's the cover of the hardback.
oh yeah, they did a zillion covers for this thing.
Yeah. And that's another thing about Star Trek is my brother and I watched it together, even in reruns. We watched it on Friday nights when we finally got it in Baton Rouge. Finally got it. We lived like 35 miles away, and watched the reruns, watched the Saturday morning cartoons, read the books. And the only book that he didn't get, and he gave me all of his Star Trek ornaments one year when he was moving house. I got all of his damn Star Trek ornaments. But the novels we would read, and you can't really, we discussed them a little bit. Did you like this one? Yes. Or about that one? No, it sucked. But Star Trek novels, I don't know. Are there more Star Trek novels than there are Star Trek comics?
No. It can't be. There are a lot, but no. Remember, the first novel was, after the Blish books. Blish wrote the first one. Spock Must Die, and then it was Spock Messiah. And then would come out every now and then. And then, they would come out once in a while. There were zillions of comics that would come out.
Yeah, but
never stopped coming out with comics almost.
Yeah, but it seemed like they came out every month. They were regular, and then Next Generation came out. And I think original series kind of slowed down because Next Generation was on the air. And then you had Deep Space Nine is still coming out. I think Voyager still does one every once in a while. The one that hardly got any love was Enterprise. But the Next Generation had some good novels. Again, there was Peter David. Peter David wrote the comics, wrote the novels. I think Howard Weinstein wrote a few of the novels from the original series.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, what can you do?
You can't do anything.
I know,
you don't have the license. You can't do anything. I wrote a Star Trek play in high school, and it sucked. It sucked hard. People that were in it said, "This sucked." And I said, "You just don't know good Star Trek." And they said, "Well, neither do you."
A play.
Yeah. I had to write basically like a 20-minute to half-hour play for speech class. And I sat down, and I had to have it ready for the next day. And nobody rehearsed. I had to go to the office and get copies made up of the script. And it wasn't very long. And it was about, I was Captain Kirk, of course. And we beamed down to this planet, and there was an alien. We were shooting him with our phasers. And this is before the Borg came along, and they were able to dodge the phasers or deflect them or something. And these aliens that I had created, I was thinking of the guy from the rock guy from the fiery planet. See, I know what I'm talking about, but I don't know the title. Anyway, they were like that. And if you shoot them with a phaser, it might hurt them, but then they adapt, and it doesn't bother them. So they're used to. This is to tell you how sucky that play was. They were able to adapt, and the phasers didn't hurt them. But Kirk and all the guys hide behind a rock, and the alien comes over to kill them, and they draw their phasers on them, and then they pick up a bunch of stones and throw at them, and they kill them. They killed every damn one of those aliens to seek out new life and new civilizations, and to kill some of them with rocks. And I explained it as Captain Kirk that they were used to the advanced weaponry, but they had no defense against primitive weapons like rocks. I could deflect a phaser, but god damn it, you're throwing rocks at me. It was a piece of shit.
Oh man. Well, there. I have not read that book, Mark C. But yes, the character from Kelsey Grammer's character from that episode, Captain of the Bozeman. Yeah. So Eastland says we must know the details of the 20-minute play. Maybe
I just gave them to you. That's the whole thing right there. You fill in the blanks. The dialogue sucked. It was basically me and a friend of mine and another guy that he knew in class now, and they're standing up there with these papers, reading them. They had no stage direction. I had to say, "Okay, men, throw the rocks," and it was balled up notebook paper. And the guys who played the monsters were like the biggest guys in the room, and they didn't care. They didn't have to read anything because I don't think they could. It's the suckiest Star Trek story ever written, amateur or professional ever. That's right, Mark. It was the Savage Curtain, but it wasn't. It wasn't Yarnek or whatever that guy's name was. It was that was the only thing I could think of.
You've clearly never seen STD if you think that's the worst thing called Star Trek.
I would even say that it's worse than that.
Not possible.
I could do worse in 20 minutes than they can do in 3 seasons.
You couldn't do worse than STD if you've been dead for 50 years.
Well, I think it kind of ended my playwright career. I also wrote a Western that year, and it sucked too. It was a comedy Western.
Yeah, you see, you're talking about by those standards of the back in the 1930s when you were in school.
Blow a goat. It was the 70s. Now
it would be a masterpiece.
Yeah, I could probably get a government grant. Robert Redford would set me up at Sundance with it.
Yeah. By today's writing standards of Moffat Entertainment, it would
be as accepted as Birdemic.
Well, the Cage is a great one. There you go. Well, I guess we covered. Again, everyone, I apologize if we didn't give a lot of information out. We're trying to get it all in, just kind of give you sort of a timeline and everything, and show you some pictures. I guess I should have called it a pictorial, vague history of Star Trek comics. But I will recommend you can easily find this thing called, if you want to learn more about Star Trek comics in depth, go to one that I use all the time. This guy is really good. It's the Star Trek Comics Checklist.
Oh. Wouldn't a Star Trek Wiki have something about it too? So wouldn't a Star Trek Wiki thing have something about it too?
Yeah, but well, there are a couple of guys who've done a lot of really extensive research on the Trek strips and different comics and things like that. But the Star Trek Comics Checklist is the one where you could it'll pretty much tell you everything, pretty much, at least give you an idea of any comics you might want to check out Star Trek wise. That's for sure. So. I know I didn't do it justice here tonight, folks, but I just wanted to skim over and cover a lot because, as you can see, look how long it took just to talk basically from the beginning to where we are now. A lot of stuff got left out, but we covered all the companies.
Yeah.
And even the UK stuff.
Well, and IDW is dipping back into the original well lately, even though it is Star Trek Year 5, and they have changed up some stuff with the characters. A character from the past is coming in Star Trek Year 5, number 16. Number 15 has the return of Harcourt Fenton Mudd, and it tells a story about how he got away from Sylvia. Shut up! Have you been drinking again?
Yeah. Well, He didn't he explain that in Mud's Passion on the
I'm
animated
sure they
series?
did. I'm sure they did. I'd have to go back and watch that thing again, but
Yeah. The animated series is canon, folks. Screw Paramount.
Well, I've got this theory. All right, canon is whatever you want to throw into it.
Well, head canon, yeah, it's all the thing. Yeah.
When George Lucas though said Chewbacca's ending in the Star Wars novels was canon, that pretty much cemented it for me. But when I went to a library that had a Star Wars author, she's written some other stuff. She's mostly known for Star Wars. I can't remember her damn name by now. But when I said, "Hey, didn't George Lucas said this death of Chewbacca was canon?" She goes, "Well, George Lucas says a lot of things." That's sort of like saying, "Hey, Gene Roddenberry said that Spock is half human." Well, Gene Roddenberry didn't know everything. That's kind of how I felt when Nicholas Meyer said something about Roddenberry, even though Roddenberry was a little off base about Savick, because at one point they were saying that Romulans and Vulcans were similar, and then later it became they were offshoots from the same race. And Roddenberry said there's no way Savick could be half Vulcan, half Romulan. They can't do that. And Nicholas Meyer said, well, if he didn't think that was possible, maybe he shouldn't have taken all the money we gave him.
Nicholas Meyer's a prick. Look, you can disagree with Gene Roddenberry all you want. He was a human being, flawed like all of us. But
he was a god. He's a god.
Respect.
He's the god of Star Trek.
He is the great bird of the galaxy. Look, criticize anybody you want. Lucas, Roddenberry, Stan Lee, whoever. They can all be criticized, but you do, I show Roddenberry the proper respect, and Nicholas Meyer's a turd. I mean, look, yes, I love the Wrath of Khan, but still, Nicholas Meyer did do 7% solution, so
yeah.
Among other things. Look what he did to Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
Jagoff.
I like the actor who played him, but that story, good God.
Freaking movie. Well, book. It was a book, and then he wrote the screenplay. Nicholas Meyer directed 2 great movies, in my opinion, of course. Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and Time After Time.
Yeah.
Trek 6 I like a lot, but there's some things about it.
Didn't he write? Wasn't he like a co-writer of Star Trek 4?
Star Trek 4, he did write, or co-write, yeah. But still, you can love their work and still knock and criticize them, folks. And yes, Raquel, TAS rather, is canon to me. Not just yesteryear, by the way.
I tried to change that in Wikipedia, not the Star Trek wiki, the Wikipedia. When they said that yesteryear was the only one considered canon, I said, well, I went in and I justified it by saying you had many of the writers from the TV series, all of the cast from the TV series, the same executive producer from the TV series, and you're telling me it's not canon?
Screw off.
Yeah.
It's canon. Yeah, I mean,
it was stuff they even said at the time. The pre-publicity, pre-show publicity said we're going to be able to do things that we couldn't do on a budget of a TV show. We're going to have aliens on the Enterprise, and we're going to interact with other aliens that we couldn't do on a TV show. And they did. I mean, they did the hell out of that. And Lieutenant Eriks and Maress, and remember BIM? I think David Gerald wrote that one.
He did write that.
BIM stood for Bug-Eyed Monster. That was his joke, but his name was Ari Ben Bim, and he was an ambassador from another world that was just getting to know the Federation, and he was able to break his body up into several parts. And now you can't do that on a 60s TV show budget.
We can do it on a cartoon.
Yep.
But you still hate the Infinite Vulcan.
Can you please go to hell? About these. That was actually Walter Koenig's only appearance in the animated series. He actually got to write an episode, and that may be his first TV writing credit. maybe his only one. I don't know. Oh, he wrote Land of the Lost too.
Yeah, he did write some. Yeah, but no, I'm just kidding. I like that episode though. Social materials from the Byrne missions. Okay, I'll see if I can. I'll do that. I will do that. Oh, my computer shut down.
And now you can't do animated shows with a lot of stuff that's like less than $100 million.
No.
And nobody does classic animation anymore, and nobody does that Filmation limited animation. Remember when Kirk or Spock would run at somebody? It was the same every time. It was like he'd throw his hands in front of him and run, get bigger on the screen to show that he was running toward whoever the guy was. And the music on that show was pretty good too.
Yeah, I love the theme of the animated series.
It's somebody has a YouTube video of all the Star Trek themes, and they put them in order. And it's the original series, the animated series, the motion picture, and then they go on from there. And it's a really good version of the animated series theme.
Yeah, Lou Scheimer, gave us that.
Which is evocative of Star Trek, but it's nothing like the original theme.
Yeah. Yeah, Doug, there you go. There's some pictures of New Visions. He did a bunch of these. What did he do? 10 or 12? I mean, what was it? I don't know how many.
He did almost 30 of them, and then they combined, they put 3 in a volume of editions later. But he finally gave up the ghost. I think I've got all but 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah, I mean, they're $10 a pop. Now, they might be cheaper now. You might be able to grab them now. But yeah, I don't know, man. I just I stopped buying them after a while.
Well, when it was very obvious that he was putting other people into it and painting clothes on them or making the costumes themselves, then it started looking goofy. It took you out of the story. Look at that. Look at Spock's face.
These covers look really stupid. So this just Byrne not wanting to draw anymore. But you know what? Maybe he can't draw anymore. I don't know if has Byrne, Mark, if you're there, has he drawn anything recently? I'm sorry, I missed that one, Raquel. I mean, co-written letter by Gene and Dorothy. Oh, well, then they need to read the co-written letter by Gene and Dorothy. I'm sorry I missed that one, Raquel. I'm not sure what you were referring to there. I apologize. I was my eyes were off of there. So I'm not exactly what you were referring to there, Raquel. I'm sorry, beg your pardon on that one. I'm sorry. But yeah, these covers are friggin', I don't know, they're kind of goofy.
They're god awful. Some of the stuff on the inside though was good.
$15. Good. Well, yeah, Canada's more expensive.
Oh, you could probably find them a lot cheaper than that now.
Well, yeah, maybe now, yeah. But
like me, I had to get them when they came out like an idiot.
I did too for a while. And Kim gave me a bunch of hers years ago, and I gave him the Scott, yeah.
And Kim loves Star Trek, so that should have told you something.
Yeah,
she's going to give them away. Here, Mike, take this. It's taking up space.
Yeah, she gave them away. I didn't want it. I didn't ask for them. I told her not to send them to me. She did. So I gave them, look, I don't know. Is Byrne, does he, I know he draws a little bit now, but I don't know. He won't draw any Trek comics.
I think he does. I think he just does commissions and stuff like that because he can make a lot of money doing that. It's like a lot of comic book artists that you've heard of, and they're used to working with their hands. Modern artists use computers to draw, and they save files and they reuse drawings and stuff like that. Some of it is really bad. Some of it you can't really tell. But yeah, Byrne still does commissions.
Oh, I see what you're saying there, Raquel. Okay, thank you so much for that. Lee. No, I appreciate that, Raquel. Thank you so much. Lee, thank you for that. I appreciate it, man. Thank you. My new friend Lee. Anthony Davis is going to share that to his Facebook group over there, science fiction group. He says, again, he has a Blake 7 group. One of these days, come on, we'll talk some Blake 7 again.
Am I on that? Am I on that group too? Because
I don't think you're on that one because he just told me about it and I joined it. I'll send you an invite on it.
All right.
It's called the Blake 7 group, I think.
Because I do seem to remember meeting Paul Darrow and Michael Keating at one time, and
Yeah.
you weren't interested. You weren't interested.
No, we're
in going.
we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Well,
But
we just did it.
I will beat you in front of everybody.
We just did it.
Who wants to see a beatdown, folks?
But look, I'll give you this. I may have met
Oh.
Avon and Villa, but you sat in the captain's chair.
It's not good enough. He's drawing X-Men for his yes, right, for his website. He didn't draw original Star Trek due to the rights issue. The photo novel allowed him to get around. Okay.
Yeah.
That man there, man. There's if I need to know about Byrne, you are the man, Mark C. Thank you, sir. I'd like to see him 13 issues of X-Men picking up from where he left off. Yeah, he's doing that for his fans, though. It's not. I wish they would publish it. Yeah, on his site.
So Marvel's
Thank you, Mark C.
Marvel's not going to sue him over that?
No, he's just drawing it on his site and putting it up there and letting his fans see it.
Okay.
They need to publish the goddamn thing. But
yeah, instead of publishing Neil Adams's X-Men stuff.
Yeah.
That was horrible.
But Lee Anthony Daniels, our buddy probably Lee, has gotten Gary from Nerdrotic to watch Blake 7. He's got Noel to watch it. And Noel and Lee and I have been doing a lot of watch parties.
I just finished a rewatch of the entire series a couple of weeks ago.
I think I probably binged it like more than 10 times now.
Yeah.
Just the series.
You know everything about Blake 7, and you would get a time machine and go back in the past and marry Jacqueline Pierce if you could.
Well, yeah.
Would we all.
Woman of my dreams.
Yeah.
But in fact, yeah, I can't get enough of it. I mean, there's nothing I love it. It's in my top 5 all-time favorite shows. It's the greatest, and I love it.
Fortunately, they were mostly still alive when they did the Big Finish series. After they did that horrific Big Finish remake with nobody from the original.
Yes, damn it! I want to be the Admiral. Admiral. Chekhov. Pavel. Rank. Yeah. Well, sheet. Yeah. Well, look. If anyone actually learned anything tonight, I'd be shocked. And you probably lied to me and tell me you did when you didn't. And if you do, that's fine. Lies are fine here. We live lies. We like lies.
I've learned that John Byrne loves Star Trek, even though he hates Superman. And one has to balance out the other. So there's symmetry.
I learned that Mark C. hates my guts and wants to kill you for hates your guts also and wants to kill you for that comic that you got in front of him and probably will be killing you.
Well, there's a lot of guts there to hate.
Yada. And do you need another yada for that? Yada. Oh, and then one more. Just in case. Yada. So I don't want to go anywhere. I'm like the 10th Doctor. I don't want to go. Except I'm not really like him. But I like him. Oh my dear. But yeah, I hope let's see. We learned that Byrne used to shop. Byrne used to shop at my local shop. He was in the store one day and some kids came looking for some old Byrne X-Men comics. And did he snap him in the face or something? Or did he put up a sign saying, "Don't talk to me" or whatever?
Did he set them on fire?
Yeah, because here we go. He's got more of the story. Okay, here we go. The owner joked that Byrne early stuff was really bad, especially I liked his Iron Fist, really. Yeah. John smiled and laughed and agreed. Kids had no idea who he was.
Speed Buggy was his greatest work.
Wheelie and the Chopper Bunch.
Same thing.
Rob 2000, which I like that. He did a Space 99 comic. He did an Emergency comic. Remember Emergency?
Yeah.
No, I like that. Of course, he had other inkers. I always like Byrne better with other inkers. I think
I remember every character that he drew from Emergency looked like a superhero.
Everybody, Byrne draws it like a superhero. But I like Byrne's when he has inkers, especially like Terry Austin, Joe Sinnott, even Bob Layton, which he didn't like. But I like those Iron Fist issues.
Terry Austin. Somebody once said that when he was inking Brian Boland, they said Terry Austin over Brian Boland was like laminating the pencils. And same thing with John Byrne. He did good service to the artist, and he didn't try to throw his style. Unlike, let's say, Tom Sutton and Ricardo Villagrán. Remember that?
Yeah.
On Star Trek? We're going back. We're going back. We have closure now. We've gone back at least to the DC series. A penciler who probably shouldn't have been drawing Star Trek, and an inker who was inking over very, I understand, very, very loose pencils of Tom Sutton. I asked Robert Greenberger at Dallas Fantasy Fair one time, why is Tom Sutton drawing Star Trek? And his answer was basically, Tom Sutton is fast.
Yep. Well, boy, he always was. I know.
That's a good enough reason if it's a business thing to you, but I can't look back at those things with any fond remembrance, because I was waiting for the day that somebody else was going to draw Star Trek.
Yeah, I mean, well, but now though, with as bad as modern day quote unquote art is, comic book art, even the crappiest old stuff looks better to me. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention one thing. Damn it, I covered one thing. It's a disgrace that we hardly got any Enterprise comic books, because this kind of dovetails into what I'm doing Monday night, everyone. Of course, the beautiful and wonderful Raquel Briggs and I will be talking about Star Trek Enterprise. All things about it. We will be defending it against its evil critics. Just kidding. A lot of nice people don't like it.
Can I make a suggestion about your show?
I don't think so.
Monday night. Raquel to me has always been a musical name. So when you say her name, you don't just go Raquel Briggs. You have to say Raquel. You gotta. Yes, you've got to put some oomph in it. You've got to put some passion in it. You got to do Frank Sinatra. Come on, do it.
I'm no Doomcock. I can't sing. He could sing.
Neither can I, but I do it.
No, he could sing her name. That would be cool. But no, so
I threw an extra syllable in there too. It wasn't just Raquel like you do. Like, your lack of respect for her. Just Raquel. I go, Raquel. You got to drag it out too.
Yeah. Talking some Star Trek Enterprise Monday night. But yeah, just one thing I totally forgot is, other than this comic book right here, there's never been a Star Trek Enterprise comic book. This was a short story in a anthology.
I think it was like in the back of one, but that was a variant cover.
When the series was on the air, and they were doing the Wildstorm, they were making Star Trek comics, and they still wouldn't make a damn Star Trek Enterprise comic. It
was like they were embarrassed by Enterprise. And remember when we were talking with some guy on a Star Trek message board about it, he said they're never going to do any Star Trek Enterprise novels. You need to just give it up. And then they did, but he was kind of right. They weren't interested in doing it unless Andy Mangels and Michael Martin did a series of pretty good Enterprise novels. And they even did stuff about afterwards, after the last show. And it didn't mess with that canon, the 4 seasons. And another thing I got to tell people, all 2 of you who are listening now, if it was not for you, I would not have seen as much of Star Trek Enterprise as I did, because when it came on, it was hard for me to get to where it was. And I don't think I had a VCR or a DVD recorder at the time, but you did. And then later, when the set came out, you bought it. You jumped on top of that thing as soon as it came out, and I borrowed yours. And
that was expensive.
Yeah. Well, now it's been a couple of years, and I think they may still have it out, being out around there. I got the first season for $20 at Walmart, and I said, "All right, they're going to put these out." Nope, they never put another one out like that. But when the entire series came out, it was like $48. Well, at least I have that. And then after they released it like that, they decided, let's do Blu-ray. And the Blu-ray was like $70 a piece, and I thought, well, I'll settle for my Enterprise the way they are.
I gotta get the Blu-ray, but I kind of like those big old clunky ass big clamshell thing sets I have are pretty nice.
What are they supposed to be? I mean, they're supposed to be some kind of a cargo.
Yeah, they're shaped to look sort of like cargo stuff on the series, I think. Yeah. But those original, yeah. I love the show. Always did, even though I was skeptical going in. Didn't think I would. Love it, but it could have been why can't you do comics? Again, there were a couple in Star Trek Waypoint was a sort of an anthology of different short stories of different Trek iterations, and what's that? Just 5 seasons? There are only 4 seasons.
4 seasons.
If you're talking about Smart Seasons, if you mean Enterprise, there are 4 seasons. Hey, no, Mark. What's up, buddy? Good to see you, man. So yeah. Anyway, they didn't do a comic. I don't understand why they couldn't have had a comic book, and maybe they probably never will now. Like you said, they did do the novels, but
they're not going to acknowledge it, even though it takes place before the Jar Trek timeline now. Yeah. And supposedly, it's the only series that hasn't been obliterated by Jar Jar.
They do a friggin' goddamn STD comic, but they will never get an Enterprise comic.
Well,
screw them.
I was flipping through the novelization of the Abrams Trek, and on the very last page, Scotty was having some trouble with the transporter, and on the very last page, the transporter room is empty, but the transporter clicks on, and a beagle runs off the transporter pad and then runs back on and gets transported out again. And that was why Scotty in the movie was in trouble. He was on that planet, that way station or whatever the hell it was, because he had a transporter accident with Admiral Archer's Beagle. It was a shitty movie. Don't get me wrong. I saw it once, and that's enough.
Piece of shit.
But they acknowledged Admiral.
Yeah, I know
Archer.
he mentioned Archer, but screw them. In the biography of
Archer's Planet.
Yeah.
In Next Generation.
Well, yeah. The biography of James C. Kirk book that came out kind of aggravated me because they had some stuff I didn't like. But early on, they mentioned Travis Mayweather as a captain of this ship that something or other. But anyway, here's a good. Well, look, I'm glad you asked, Lee Anthony Davis. What do I think about Patrick McGowan and The Prisoner? What do you think I think about Patrick McGowan and The Prisoner? I am a prisoner freak, sir.
Well, it is. You're at least a freak.
I agree with the great Lord Doomcock that is the greatest TV show ever made. Yes, I love Star Trek more. By a little bit, yes, but I love more.
You also agree with Sir Patrick McGowan that it's the greatest TV show ever made.
I believe Patrick McGowan is a god, sir. Yeah.
You like Patrick McGowan so much, you watched everything that he was in after that. How many episodes of Columbo? How many episodes on Columbo was he a murderer in?
3 or 4.
And he won. Maybe? He won like an Emmy or a couple of Emmys. And he was the 21st Phantom in the movie The Phantom.
He was even in Baby, Secret of the Lost Legend. He was in Braveheart. There's a great documentary, something about Finding the Prisoner or something like that. That's on Amazon now or something. I forgot it was an interview with Patrick McGowan. I think it's on Amazon though.
Yeah, but it's a lot of stuff like that is on YouTube, and you've seen it. I've seen it. It's like somebody's doing a documentary about The Prisoner and about Patrick McGowan.
This was just about.
Well, this is at some point he got very upset with the way they were doing it. So he started directing them.
Yeah, he was. You saw that it was just about like an interview with him from 1983. So anyway, Lee, love The Prisoner. I think it's the greatest. And I know the great
Star Trek meets The Prisoner.
That better not happen.
That's next from IDW.
Oh God, yep. Maybe it'll happen. I know Robert Meyer Burnett and the great As Heel versus Babyface do a show where they talk about they're doing a watch now, and they're doing the show every week talking about the Prisoner episodes, and that's really great. And one of these days, Lord Doomcock and I shall talk Prisoner, but he loves it too. So anyway, well, what can you do? Thank you everyone for being here.
Thank you for not being here.
Yeah. Well, anyone who was not here, I thank them too.
Yeah.
Just for being. I thank them for being. That's the important thing. Beings. So, again, Monday night, instead of Monday Night Football, since I don't watch it anymore, I'll have a lot of fun talking about Star Trek, Enterprise, in defense of Enterprise, the good and the bad and the ugly, with the beautiful and wonderful, my new friend, my great new friend, Raquel Briggs.
Raquel.
And there you go. You got your name sung again, Raquel. There you go. Well, I guess that's about it, folks. I hope you had a good time. I did. So, I hope Minimus didn't have a good time.
It was okay. Wasn't a birthday party or anything, but it was okay.
Well, that's all right. I want to thank you, the great Eric K., my friend. Thank you for being here, sir. Mando Mark, I appreciate you stopping in. Smart Steve, great to see you, my friend. I appreciate it so much. Canadian Spider-Man does whatever a Canadian spider can. Thank you for popping in. Mark C., my great friend Mark C. We'll be talking with you soon on here, I hope, buddy. Mark with a C as well. Thank you for being here. Lee Anthony Davis, my new bud. I appreciate you being here, sir. Let's see. I think Mando Mark, if I didn't mention you, I just did again, just in case. Doug Oberg, my buddy. I always appreciate you being here, my friend. And it's always great to see you. Great artist and a great dude and a great comic book fan. A guy who knows his stuff. And I tried to backtrack to see if I missed it. Eastwood Burkholder, I know you're still out there, bro. Thank you so much. And if I missed anyone, well, you know me.
Well, you know what the secret is.
To bang the rocks together, guys.
That's right.
I thought you were going to say something else. All right, everyone. I'm going to play us out with the great Loki's intro outro he made for me. And have a wonderful night.